Today is Tuesday, November 26th. What to know about President-elect Trump's latest promise for day one. He's laying out his plan for tariffs on America's biggest trading partners. And why Canada is expecting a surge of people crossing the border from the U.S. once Trump takes office. Plus, specific advice for travelers as the Thanksgiving rush begins. The latest and biggest company to rein in its DEI programs. And what's turning rap music's biggest feud into a legal battle. Those stories and even more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. There could be some big changes coming in global trade. President-elect Trump is now promising big tariffs for America's three largest trading partners on his first day in office. We're talking about Canada, Mexico, and China. Trump says once he's sworn in for a second term, he'll sign an executive order to impose a 25% tariff on products coming from Canada and Mexico. Then he promised another 10% tariff on goods from China. Trump blamed Canada, Mexico, and China, saying they're not doing enough to stop the flow of drugs or migrants into the U.S. And these trade changes are expected to hurt their economies. But since the U.S. is the largest importer of goods in the world, especially from those three countries, many economists say Americans would also end up paying more for everything from gas to cars to food. All that said, it's not clear if Trump will actually go through with this or if he's using it as a negotiating tactic before he returns to the White House. In fact, many times, Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has said tariffs are a means of negotiation. So stay tuned. As President-elect Trump complains about drugs and migrants coming from Canada, the Canadian government is preparing for just the opposite. The New York Times and other news outlets report Canada is bracing for a surge of immigrants to cross the northern U.S. border after Trump takes office. So the Times says authorities are getting more border patrols and vehicles ready. They plan to step up more detention and processing facilities along the border, too. This is a change from the first time Trump was in office and first pushed for stricter immigration policies. Back then, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised his country would be more welcoming to asylum seekers. But now Trudeau says Canada is going to be lowering the number of immigrants it allows into the country. By the way, it's not just immigrants to the U.S. who are showing an interest in Canada. Politico reports the Canadian government has seen a lot of interest coming from American natives, too. And Google Trends back that up. Apparently, the number of searches for things like how to move to Canada skyrocketed in the days after Trump won re-election. Google also saw huge increases in searches like Irish citizenship, how to move to Australia, and political asylum, all coming from users here in the U.S. Meanwhile, there are a lot more Americans happy with the direction the country is going who certainly don't want to leave. The latest vote count shows nearly 77 million Americans voted for President-elect Trump. That's the second highest tally in American history, just after Biden in 2020. It's official, President-elect Trump is no longer under federal indictment. The judge overseeing his election interference case dismissed the case yesterday. And this is the one that accused Trump of illegally trying to overturn the 2020 election results that he pleaded not guilty to. Special counsel Jack Smith, who first brought the charges against Trump, actually requested it be thrown out. But Smith made it clear that's not because he didn't have a strong enough case. Instead, he cited a longstanding policy against prosecuting a sitting president. Technically, Trump would not be considered immune anymore in 4 years once he leaves office, but reports say it's extremely unlikely any prosecutor would try to bring the same charges again since the statute of limitations will have expired by the time his term is up. Trump's spokesperson called this development a major victory for the rule of law. And it's just one of many victories Trump's team is celebrating. At the beginning of the year, the president-elect faced nearly 100 criminal charges. Now they have all been either dropped or put on hold. The Thanksgiving travel rush has begun, but here are a few things to be aware of. The FAA is warning passengers it may need to slow down air traffic. A shortage of air traffic controllers, combined with a record number of expected travelers, means flights could be delayed to keep everyone safe. The Northeast in particular may see delays, especially in the busy New York area. But that's not the only disruption travelers might face. Service workers at Charlotte Douglas International Airport in North Carolina went on strike yesterday. People who clean planes, remove trash, and assist passengers in wheelchairs say they're not making a living wage. But the companies that employ the workers say they're taking steps to minimize disruptions. For those planning on driving to their Thanksgiving destinations, expect the roads to be busy. Most of the 80 million Americans traveling at least 50 miles from home between today and next Monday are going by car. Transportation analytics company Inrix told the AP, today and tomorrow afternoon will be the busiest time to drive, but it should be smooth sailing on freeways come Thanksgiving Day. On the return home, the best time to travel is before 1 p.m. on Sunday and before 8 a.m. or after 7 p.m. on Monday. Of course, one variable that could disrupt all different types of travel is the weather, so check the conditions for wherever you may be heading. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. As soon as my son turned 2 years old, I started giving him Hiya children's vitamins every morning. He immediately loved the flavor and the routine of it, and he felt so special having his very own bottle of vitamins. And I loved that Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full-body nourishment that he needs. Well, a year and a half later, and Hiya is still part of our everyday. In fact, now he takes both the children's vitamin and the children's probiotic. I definitely recommend checking out the probiotic as well. And I chose Hiya over many other options, even before they were a sponsor of this podcast, because it is not filled with sugar and gummy junk like so many others are. Instead, it's formulated with the help of nutritional experts and pressed with a blend of organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals to support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, and so much more. So we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on their regular website. So go to Hiya Health, HIYAHEALTH.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Now back to the news. The White House has welcomed its Christmas tree, and it's especially notable this year because the nearly 20-foot Fraser fir survived Hurricane Helene. It came from a family Christmas tree farm in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. When First Lady Jill Biden unveiled the tree yesterday, she said the Cartner family lost thousands of trees in the deadly storm back in September, but this one remained standing, adding they named it Tremendous for the extraordinary hope it represents. Members of the North Carolina National Guard who worked on hurricane recovery efforts were also welcomed to the White House this week. The resilient Christmas tree will be displayed in the White House's Blue Room, where hundreds of visitors to the White House will have a chance to see it during the holiday season. Thousands of workers weren't able to access email and other services yesterday because Microsoft 365 crashed. Outlook email and Microsoft Teams went down, two tools many people use regularly on the job. Microsoft said a recent change impacted some users, and it's working on a fix. At last check overnight, the company said most issues have been resolved, except for Outlook on the web for some users. Not all workers were really upset about this, though. Some on social media said it was an early start to the Thanksgiving holiday. Macy's quarterly earnings report is highly anticipated this time of year since Wall Street tends to use it as a gauge for the strength of holiday shopping. But it's been delayed. And the reason? The retail chain says a single employee hit up to $154 million in small package delivery fees over the last few years. Macy's says the hidden expenses did not affect its cash flow or vendor payments, and the responsible employee did not actually take any money from the company. So it's still not clear why the costs were hidden in the first place, but the employee no longer works for Macy's, and the investigation continues. Walmart is the latest company to roll back its diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs. America's biggest retail chain said it would shut down the Center for Racial Equity, a nonprofit that it started in 2020 after its initial $100 million in funding runs out. The company also said it would stop giving assistance to suppliers that are majority owned by women, minorities, veterans, and members of the LGBTQ community. And some LGBTQ-themed items will no longer be sold on the store's website. Walmart added that even the term DEI itself will be phased out of company communications. Now, these moves come after other large companies like Ford and John Deere have dropped DEI programs as well. At least part of the reason those companies made changes was because of right-wing influencer Robbie Starbuck, who spearheads online campaigns threatening boycotts if DEI policies are not eliminated. Starbuck claimed responsibility for Walmart's announcement, saying he spoke with executives last week. The feud between rappers Drake and Kendrick Lamar has moved to the courtroom. Drake sued record label Universal Music Group, claiming the label used deceptive methods to turn Lamar's song, Not Like Us, into a hit. The lawsuit claims Universal charged Spotify less for the song in exchange for recommending it to more listeners than it normally would. One catch to the lawsuit, though, Drake is also signed to a label owned by Universal. Universal denies the claim made in the lawsuit, with one representative saying it would never undermine one of its artists, referring to Drake. Kendrick Lamar himself, who's not directly part of the lawsuit, has not weighed in. But the Pulitzer Prize-winning rapper did release a surprise album over the weekend. GNX appeared on streaming platforms Friday with no warning and little information. The 12-track album features at least one song that's a reference to Drake. Lamar has not said much about the album, but he will be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show in February. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick break. You know that feeling when you get home from a long day and immediately want to change into comfy clothes? With Honeylove, it doesn't have to be that way. Everything from their shapewear and bras to their leggings and tanks are designed to be comfortable and functional. In fact, I can't live without their Legging 2.0. It's my favorite pair of leggings by far. I wear them every week due to their soft, breathable fabric, stylish look, and convenient but not bulky pockets. And whenever there's a special event, Honeylove is my go-to for shapewear, giving me support, confidence, and comfort all in one. Whether you're getting ready for holiday parties and want better shapewear, or you're ready to upgrade your everyday essentials, Honeylove has you covered. Treat yourself to the best bras, shapewear, leggings, and more on the market. And save up to 60% off site-wide at honeylove.com/newsworthy until December 4th only. Inventory is limited and the sale ends soon, so don't miss their best deals of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Elevate your comfort, elevate your style, thanks to Honeylove. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what country has the tradition of filling children's clogs with candy and treats on December 5th? As for last week's trivia question, which retailer was the first to host a Thanksgiving Day parade? The answer is not Macy's, but the Gimbel Brothers. Macy's is the most famous Thanksgiving Day parade now, and its first Thanksgiving Day parade happened way back in 1924. But the idea for a Thanksgiving Day parade to kick off the Christmas shopping season actually started 4 years earlier in Philadelphia. That's when the Gimbel Brothers department store first held a parade with 15 cars, 50 people, and Santa Claus to promote the store's Toyland for the holiday shopping season. Over the years, the Gimbel's parade incorporated giant balloons, which many people now associate with Macy's. Gimbel's closed for good in 1986, but the parade still happens to this day, though now it's sponsored by a local broadcast station and Dunkin'. Still, Philadelphia's Thanksgiving Day parade is the oldest in the country. Well, thank you so much for making time to listen today and trusting us to get your news. As you gather with family and friends this week, please consider telling them all about The Newsworthy. We so appreciate your support in helping us to spread the word about the show. We will be back tomorrow with the latest news to know before Thanksgiving. So until then, have a great day.